We'll have to work out whether to call you Albanese or Albanese because we've heard both tonight.
That's why everyone just calls me Albo. It's easier. So,
all right. Fair enough. Is it Albanese?
It depends. It's actually Albanese.
Okay.
It depends where you're from.
Thank you for clearing that, Mr. Albanese.
It's a very gentle S in Italian, but you always use the vowel at the end.
I'll make sure.
But no one says bolognese, do they?
No, they don't. Let's move on. Our next question is
there you go. If you learn nothing else tonight.
It's how to pronounce your name.
Mr Albanese was targeted for calling last month's truck protest in Canberra a convoy of no consequence.
You either want to listen or you don't.
Go home and do some research. For heaven's sake. Stop just listening to Alan Jones and reading the Daily Telegraph.
We are the people who have worked in this country.
You're entitled to your opinion.
The comments here, listen, look.
Hey, you dare call us names?
Hey,
Look at this.
you sir are a loser, mate. You're a gutless loser.
Well, I'm here, mate.
You're a gutless loser.
I'm here. This is what Robert Menzies said, the founder of the Liberal Party. In other words, on far too many questions, we have found our role to be simply that of the man who says no. A visionary was Robert Menzies. 67 years ago, he picked this bloke. 67 years ago.
Oh, Sabra, I'd like to be interviewed. I could ask questions of myself, I guess. I'm going to interview myself. So, Mr Albanese, how do you think you've gone as Leader of the House? Well, thank you for that question. I think that the government's done extremely well. We've carried now 590 pieces of legislation. What do you think of the opposition? They've been hopeless.
Conducting themselves.
Oh, you're redundant. Rage!
Okay, true or false? The fact that you're on this show 3 days out from the election means you don't actually think you can win.
True.
Correct.
That is what Robert Menzies said about this person who has led the coalition of yesterday into the no-alition of today. The no-alition who have just one policy to every issue. No, 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 no.
Anthony Albanese, can you complete this phrase?
No, 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 no. That's Tony Abbott's job.
Okay, have a look at this clip from Sky News.
But here, just some live pics.
Was Sky News right, A, both times, or B, just the first time?
The perils of live TV.
Correct, or I'll give you that. Complete this phrase.
We've got to stop the...
Tories.
I'll give you that, yeah, no worries.
It's gone down.
This is a person who was saying no in his sleep because we saw it last night. We saw it last night. There he was asleep on the front bench. He only woke up to say no. No. It was unbelievable, Mr. Speaker.
When you hosted Rage recently, you said this.
As Deputy Prime Minister, you get to do a lot of things that you don't particularly want to do, but you have to do.
Were you referring to A, supporting Kevin Rudd, B, dressing up as a Nazi for a News Limited cover shoot, or C, reclining awkwardly on the Rage couch?
Coming on this show.
I'll give you that too, no problem. All right. At the Labor launch, you spent quite a bit of time describing Tony Abbott.
Just too small.
What were you talking about there?
The length of his fuse.
OK, I'll give you...
Coming up as Nirvana, who I got to see what was then this obscure band, but there was a real buzz about them, at the first ever Big Day Out. They played at the Hordern Pavilion rather than on the big stage. because they weren't the main headline act, but it went off. People could not get in. Everyone who was at the big day out that day, and it was a pretty hot day, tried to cram into the Horden. Sensational gig, great band, ended too early.
The Shadow Minister for Broadband and the Copper Economy is not alone in arguing the merits of copper in this chamber. Indeed, a member, Mr Thomas Brown, is recorded as arguing in the old chamber, the old place, copper is used for greater efficiency. He was out there arguing the case for copper, just like the member for Wentworth today. You can look it up in Hansard. 23rd of November 1910. 103 years ago, this bloke would have been a visionary. But today he's way behind. Way behind. But let me tell you, there were similar naysayers back then. There was a fellow that the member for Wentworth could relate to, Mr Matthews. He said this: the practical men in the department, not the theorists, think that nothing is gained by using copper wire for short lines. Some of the iron wire lines have been in use for 30 years and give us gooder results now as the copper wire lines. You can just envisage the member for Wentworth back then with the top hat on, rocking up to Parliament saying, "We don't need this copper rubbish, the iron is fine." Just like today, he argues we don't need the fibre, the copper is fine. Just like the Leader of the Opposition sees Sonny Bill Williams at a launch and goes, "Oh, is that Sonny Bill or is that an apparition?"
I wanted to also especially thank Anthony Albanese, is that how you say his name? Yeah, the Minister of Transportation. He was so good to make sure that we got my buses here. I hear there was quite a bit of press about that. So I don't know if he's here today. If he is, if he'll come up here, I'll smear lip gloss all over him.
Oh, look, what happened last night was I was having a beer after work with someone who I work with. Craig Thompson was in the building. He came along for a beer, a personal chat, that's all. No big deal. Hold the front page. Albo likes a beer after work. I'll give you a big scoop. I've had a beer and been to the footy with Joe Hockey as well. I'm just pleased that whoever the photographer was got my best side.
The only good thing about Tory governments is it produces good music in protest. That was against Margaret Thatcher. This is against John Howard.
I don't wanna rock, DJ.
Eric Betts says it does raise serious questions, and it's not sort of going against Labor's message of being a new and reformed party.
I don't take Eric Betts seriously. A good reason to vote for Tony.
A lovely reason.
He's not Eric Betts. Always still try and go and see bands. Yeah. One of the benefits of opposition is that I've got a bit more time to see bands these days. And the great thing is that all these old bands are getting back together. And when you go see them, you don't feel old because everyone's about 50. So
the same age.
Where are you going for Tony?
Australia have nothing to look forward to.
So we're
going to come to your office this Saturday, and we're going to protest, and we're going to send you a message that people don't support you or your politics.
Good on you. That's very tough.
Until you change your stance.
This overnight?
Until you change your stance.
What group are you from? Are you just going to talk?
140.
You keep asking questions.
100.
You don't stop talking.
143.
Is that because you don't want answers?
Do you not want to hear this, Albo? Is that why you're trying to cut me off? 143 counts of human rights abuse by locking up kids behind race wire. I don't want to listen to you. I want to fight you. I want to fight everything you've come to represent. How do you feel about you, Port Howard's politics?
Peace, baby.
Barry Goldwater was an extreme right-wing candidate in 1964, and he went around and he appealed to fear. And when he did that, he did it under the slogan trying to appeal to all the worst elements. Never appeal to the betterment that mankind's capable of. And he said, in your heart, you know he's right. Well, the Democrats very successfully parodied the Goldwater campaign. And it's something that I think fits with this Leader of the Opposition, because their response was, in your guts you know he's nuts. And that is exactly what this leader of the opposition shows himself to be in the way that he conducts himself in public life. He has indeed done for public discourse in this country what the Vuvuzela did for World Cup soccer in South Africa. He runs around, he says no to everything, he tries to divide the community, he tries to scare people. He has nothing positive to say whatsoever.
I like fighting Tories. That's what I do. That's what I do.
The Albo Corn Ale is made by a microbrewery in Albo's Sydney electorate, and now it's available on tap in our nation's capital.
No, well, if it was called, you know, Abbott Ale, it'd be pretty sour and bitter.
You got it away.
But of course, it's, you know, it's a good drop, and it got a good review today, I must say, in the Canberra Times this afternoon. So fortunately, I had to have liked it, even if I didn't like the taste. But it's going extremely well, and it's a local small business employment package.
Is a guy behind you on the right? Have you checked his license, his ID? He looks a bit young for my liking, Albo.
Look, that's King O'Malley's. I'm sure have a very stringent ID. They're questioning your age here.
Yeah, I'm 19.
19.
And when's he going back to One Direction?
On this side of the house, we're the builders. We're the nation builders. They're the wreckers. We're the people who are interested in enhancing opportunity. Those opposite are only interested in entrenching privilege of the big end of town.